Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Rock and Roll Brunch podcast.
Yeah, you're talking really quietly, like at the phone, like it's the mic.
People are gonna watch. All right, we'll do that.
no, we can just keep rolling. This is good. Let's keep going.
Episode number 17. We're live at Denny's.
That's like a straight shot into your nose. I'm using it.
We're just hanging out, man. That's it.
This is our
first
podcast in person since.
Yeah. All right, we'll do a.
I don't know.
I mean, 2012.
I mean,
maybe.
So.
Almost 10 years.
Yeah.
Wait, would it be? We probably need to do a Black Friday episode.
Oh, we gotta do that.
Yeah, without a doubt.
We're back. Friday episode.
But we've been back for almost a year.
No. I'm gonna say it again slower. We're back. Friday.
No, you can say it's slower, but it didn't help.
We're back Friday.
We're going to do this on Friday.
We're back. Black Friday.
Back Black Friday.
Back in Black Friday.
Back in Black.
See, better.
Dun.
We should find one of those cheesy, like, fake versions of that song so we don't get sued and just put it in the background.
It would just be Josh and I doing it.
Oh,
That's
fair
it right
enough.
there.
Fair enough.
I think that one's it. You just cut that together. All right. Well, let's roll into this thing. I like that I can hop over here a little bit.
Popping into this one.
I'll hop over here.
It's harder to pop into that one, but you can do it.
Stop doing it. It's like right in his nose.
I can't wait till he's eating and then you do it.
Food falling.
Well, we are here. We are in Denny's, Palatine, Illinois. We're doing rock and roll brunch, old school today. So let's get into it. With me, my name is Josh Marcanti. I will be your gracious host. With me, as always, are two Denny's boys. Mr. Chris Marcanti. Chris, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well. I think there are people who are going to start wondering why you said the word Denny so many times.
Especially Denny's boys.
Denny back there is probably listening this whole time, and he's
gone.
like, what? Somebody saying my name?
Mr. Denny is here?
The Denny. Denny's is definitely here.
His name is Don Denny's. Okay.
Is it?
Also with me is
Great Don
Mr.
Denny's.
Dane Urbach. Dane, how are you this morning?
I think we should start a band called the Denny Boys.
I like
Denny
it.
boys?
Yeah, or Denny's Boys.
Oh, Denny's boys?
You're trying. You're really trying.
I got a lot more
He's
in
just
the chamber.
excited.
Yeah.
He's excited.
Guess
Let
how
him
many
have
Denny's
this.
puns I got in the chamber?
I've been writing them all morning.
I'm playing it for me. Dane, how are you, buddy?
I'm okay.
Good.
I spent all day yesterday, like half the day working and then half the day mowing the lawn.
What is work? Like grading papers and stuff?
No, I got to teach this thing called AP style to my students, which is like the style in which newspapers, like what do you hyphenate and where do you put commas? And
Yeah.
so I wrote like a whole week long, like lesson arc with like a 50-point quiz at the end, and found all these examples of newspaper articles that I screwed up intentionally so the kids could
Oh,
find.
that's fun.
No, it was 6 hours. Well, I mean, it was fun. It was fun,
That's
but
fun.
it was 6 hours of
Yeah.
So
Trying to trick your children, your students.
kind of. I mean, but it's more of just like, all right, so now you know what gets capitalized in AP style.
Yeah.
So find out all the stuff I didn't capitalize.
I don't know AP style.
It's just like if you look at a newspaper, you'll notice like sometimes they'll an easy example is like COVID. Like the way we all write COVID is different than every single newspaper who's got a very particular way that they have to write that word. And they won't call it coronavirus, they'll call it COVID, or they'll call it COVID when they're referring to COVID-19, like all caps COVID, but if they're talking about just COVID, the illness that we talk about, it's capital C, lowercase.
That's really interesting.
Is this an example of like when they say Bruce Wayne, Batman? Is that
Anyway,
did I-
so
Something like that,
Yeah,
yes.
I summarized
Now,
it.
the thing is if they said, like, oh, never mind, I won't get into it, sorry. We're going down a rabbit hole here. I don't need to teach you guys this stuff.
Clark Kent, Superman.
Well, that's called an appositive. That's just regular grammar, all right?
Yeah.
But,
and a positive?
yes, an appositive. That's what it's called.
But I have to trust you on that
yes,
one.
but if, for example, if we said, billionaire playboy Bruce Wayne,
Yeah.
like, I'm trying. That's not a formal title. Like, if we wanted to say like superintendent,
CEO Bruce Wayne.
Well, but you'd capitalize CEO anyway because it's an acronym. right?
This is really boring.
We're getting
guys.
into the weeds already.
This is,
I'm just
We're
gonna,
already
I'm gonna go ahead and
it's
say that.
Grammar Brunch Podcast.
Yes, right on.
Well, dear listener, you might be wondering why things sound a little funny. Who knows what the audio setup is going to be like today? I have a Zoom recorder stacked in the middle of a bunch of sugar packets. So
Are you able to put photos into the notes, the show notes?
Yeah.
Yeah, you should definitely.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
send you a photo
Yeah,
then
I can do that.
of what our setup
Yeah.
looks like.
I've never done it before, but I totally can.
Let's
yeah.
do it.
You can do like chapters and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's cool.
Podcasting has come a long way in the 12 years, 10 years.
I think
You'd-
it's
you'd think
important.
so.
I think
You'd
it's
think so.
important that people understand that we had a version of so for anyone who's listening, we had. Oh yeah, that's me.
Oh, here come the French toast.
Right?
For anyone who's listening,
Oh.
who's like a more recent listener,
Well, here, let me. You know, you say it's funny that you say. Oh, thank you very much. Our food has arrived.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
thank you.
Anything else I can do for you? You guys go for the
I
moment.
think we're good for now.
All right, yeah.
Enjoy it here.
All right, bring that plate over here. Eggy boy there.
I think.
I think you got to explain that change of an egg.
I think.
Well,
I think we're.
I think we need to explain
These are a
though.
little more crispy than these ones. You get it.
I think we have to understand that or explain that we had the rock and roll brunch started more than 10 years ago, right?
So it's funny that you say like podcasting has come a long way, because 10 years ago, we would the idea behind rock and roll brunch is that we would come together. Yep. Now I'm gonna take some of those eggs too.
I think there's a fatal flaw
What's that?
in rock and roll brunch of old versus rock and roll brunch of new.
What's the fatal flaw
Before
before I
they
finish even explaining it?
They couldn't watch us eat.
Oh yeah,
Oh yeah, now,
they could just hear us.
now you get to watch this. Anyway, we got together at various diners, and we would literally do this. We would order food and talk about what we got, which we're going to do in a second. And we're still doing that. And we're still here. We're still using our phones to record everything.
We might start doing this more often. I think we should.
Yeah,
think
for
so,
sure.
too.
Well, interestingly, we haven't been able to get together since COVID has been a thing, but
And this really only came back. I think we started this up again in an effort to kind of work, hang out with each other because of it.
right, because I think we were hanging out not enough, if I'm being honest. We were still getting together. I think we got together a few times.
Yeah, we did.
Coffee or
Just
whatever.
to do this, literally just to hang out and talk about music and stuff like that, which is literally all rock and roll brunch is. But to do it on a more regular basis is ideal.
Yeah. It's nice to be back in person.
Dane, what did you go ahead and order? What'd you get today?
Well, this is recorded in some way, so it could end up in a. I don't know. We don't have the video of it, but
Wait,
I was going back and forth between pumpkin pecan pancakes and I don't know, something else. And you guys both got really upset, like visually disturbed.
It's just a waste of
Pumpkin
pancakes.
pecan pancakes, and they're very good. I haven't eaten these ones yet, but pumpkin pancakes generally are good, and I'm a big fan of the pecan. Yeah, it's my favorite nut.
you're 60 years old.
Yeah, yeah, more or less, right?
Josh, what did you get?
When I say boys, we're getting together, I knew it was going to be a grand slam. I knew that. It was just a matter of the particulars.
Yeah.
I went with French toast on the particulars, which I think was a great choice.
You know, it's funny, I never go to French toast. I'm not like a French toast guy. If I'm
I
going to get
think-
pancakes or waffles.
I think there's a tier system when it comes to
Thank
that part of the breakfast. And here's my ranking. Are you ready for this?
you. You want a
Oh,
little
please, thank you. Thank you very much. We'll get to you in a second. Here's my
This is like important podcast
top tier French
content.
Yeah.
top tier French toast. Below that, waffles. Below that, C tier pancakes.
That's interesting.
Pancakes are the everyman's side.
I think waffles are always king. Sorry.
Are there what?
Waffles are always king. They're always at the top.
Yeah, I think so too.
And then fancy pancakes, and then regular pancakes. And French toast is good, but
And then fancy pancakes.
The fancy pancakes and regular pancakes.
At Denny's, they call them premium pancakes.
That's true. The fancy cakes, regular cakes.
Hot cakes, sweet cakes, tasty cakes. Chris, what'd you get?
I got the Grand Slam as well,
it's
but I got
literally
I
got the
cakes.
same thing. Like,
I got
except
pancakes.
for
You
your-
want French toast?
Oh, French toast.
Size. It's so hot.
But you literally got the same thing. You're like, well, what'd you get? Well, what'd you get? It's like you both got
saying
the
it's forced?
stupid. No, you just both got the stupid same twinning thing. Like,
Shut up.
You also have a twin. I bet.
he's not here getting.
Would
getting
you ordered
You wish he was here.
pumpkin
Pancake.
pecan?
No, I don't think he would have.
I have a secondary thought of what we could turn this podcast into.
Oh, yeah.
A mukbang. YouTube.
Muppets?
Do you know what mukbang is?
Gosh,
Oh, here we go.
you gotta be quieter when you say words.
No,
like
no,
that.
no, no. Mukbang. Mukbang. M-U-K-B-A-N-G.
You gotta be quieter.
See, there's a dynamic missing when
I
it's all
don't know
for
what
Zoom.
this is. It's kind of freaking me out.
Okay. For those of you not as internet savvy as Josh Marcanti is, mukbang is a style of video. It can be sexual in nature. It doesn't have to be. Look at that slow blade.
Yeah, good.
Where basically you eat food and enjoy it. And that's it.
That's what we're doing.
That's what I'm saying. So it could be a
Just
mukbang.
let's be done. Let's be done. Look, can we just cut that from the whole
Is that
episode?
a no? Is that a no on the mukbang?
I don't know. I'm gonna edit out mukbang.
Oh,
We should stop saying mukbang, I guess, to
I
begin
hate
with.
you guys so much.
Move from Denny's to mukbang.
Are we gonna share what we've been listening to?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh yeah. You seem eager to do so.
No, I just was wondering. Yeah,
Oh,
so
great,
good. So
thank
far,
you.
so good.
Thank you.
Well, I've been listening to the new Big D and the Kids Table album a lot, but also haven't listened to a lot of the new Every Time I Die record. So it's just those two kind of flip-flopping back and forth. There's a lot of new music out there. Do you know the band Shiloh? Mm-hmm. I've been listening to their new album a lot too.
Yeah. Ooh.
They're my writing band right now. So.
This song gets played a lot in my car.
This is Crocodile Rock.
No.
No, it's I'm Still Standing. It was also
movie
in
Sing.
the movie Sing.
Oh yeah.
So we play this a lot in my car. Yeah, I like Shiloh.
I do miss the
I didn't realize
live
it was
dynamics
there.
of. Is there no spoon? Okay.
See that panic in Chris's face just then?
Then I'd have to ask for it.
Hopefully this sounds okay. Chris, what have you been listening to?
Definitely every time I die, new copyrights.
Been listening to that too.
Which I think both those albums deserve reviews by us
Yeah.
because I that Every Time I Die record.
I'm also thinking,
And Gates put out a new EP.
I listened to that
I
all the
haven't
way
listened
through
to it.
first time. It reminded so. It felt very Thricey to me in a good way, in the
they're,
best way.
they're very Tracy.
But in like the way that it's just, I thought about how I was going to present this today. I feel like Gates is very Thricey, but with a totally different texture than that.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? Like they just have a different.
Well, they toured with Thrice.
Right.
Yeah.
Their style isn't totally different, but it's just like something about their vibe feels different.
Yeah.
We played with Gates, you know that?
Of course I did.
Yeah.
That's
Like-
That's how we started getting
that's
into
how we
it.
got into them. We
Yeah.
played with them.
Wait. Like as the American Autumn?
Yeah.
Yeah.
After I left?
Yep. Yeah, they were great. They're very nice. Like,
Oh,
they were headlining the show,
yeah.
and like
Where?
Displays Theater. They were headlining the show, and like, I checked them out before the show, and I was like, these guys are amazing. And then like I went up to them and I was talking to them, and they're very just like they're hanging out in the back of the room, like it was just a normal show. And then shortly after that, they blew up.
What's the Denny's song?
Yeah, I
Hard.
actually bought their vinyl at that show.
I feel like for me, there are a few kind of like touchstone bands that kind of hit.
I'll tell you what, the syrup doesn't come out fast.
Nah, well,
I got drowned.
there are a couple touchstone bands for me that kind of have the right balance of musical elements.
Yeah.
And I kind of feel like Gates is one of those bands.
Agreed.
Absolutely.
For me, yeah.
They get
Their first two records,
hard,
I like.
and then they get big,
I like Sponge
and then they
so
get
much.
spatial,
Spacey and quiet, but still dense.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And not just like acoustic or whatever.
outrageously good.
Yes. Anyway, you will like the new EP. There's some like songs in it that aren't like songs, you know, like they're just sort of like passing transitions.
Here's why
things.
Pancakes are C tier.
Are you kidding me? I took a bite of this and I thought this guy's insane.
Here's why Pancakes are C tier. They're sponges. I'm watching Dane pour more syrup into the
What's the
pancake.
point?
Yeah.
They're sponges.
Because it's dry.
Okay, so in my book that I'm trying to get published right now, at the end of the book, they stop at a Waffle House. Have you guys ever been to Waffle House?
Many times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tried really hard to get Emily to stop at a Waffle House on our trip to Florida and back. She wouldn't have it.
Why?
Because dragging our 3 kids into a place where there's only like counter seating
Yeah.
and then only waffles.
And locals only.
She was like, and I was like, so I had
She's right
my
on that
heart,
one.
but I had my characters stop at a Waffle House on their way back from like their road trip. And one of my favorite lines from the book came from it, which is like my it's not really the antagonist character, he's sort of like but he's like the best friend character. And he's like waffles are just pancakes for babies that can't control their food or their syrup and need their food to take care of them, and went into this whole like tirade. Now, I was obviously playing devil's advocate
No,
there,
right.
right? Because we know the rankings.
It's
This
not
is-
your perspective.
right,
It's
but
the
this character's, he was just trying to like, you know, he's a character who complains about everything, even if there's not a good reason to. But yes, I understand that pancakes like sop up, and pancakes are fine. They're low tier, you know, that's
They're low
part of the
tier.
point of them.
They're
But-
higher than waffles. The problem with waffles is you got this right here, the low part.
Well, that's a
here.
French toast.
That's what I meant.
Well, French toasts are at the bottom.
Clearly the bottom. They're clearly the worst breakfast syrup food that you can eat.
I'll entertain swapping out French toast and waffles. I'll entertain that.
Yeah. Well, you're going from
But I'm
worst to best. To best.
But pancakes.
Right? Yeah, who wouldn't? Right? Who
but
wouldn't do that?
But pancakes are low tier.
I think French toasts are fine. I'm very fancy French. Okay,
Fancy.
Fancy cakes.
waffles, fancy pancakes, regular pancakes, fancy French toast, regular French toast, and then regular toast. I think that's the tier.
I think you're right. Josh, what are you listening to lately?
Literally the exact same stuff.
I just feel like a lot of good albums came out all at once.
All at once, yeah.
And what's interesting, I think we should review copyrights instead of maybe Every Time I Die. I feel like copyrights are exactly the kind of bands we should be reviewing.
One then
But-
could make the argument that that's why we should review Every Time I Die.
Sure.
100%.
What I wanted,
Let's
the
do
only
both.
thing I want to say about copyrights is that I dipped out of them for too long,
100%.
and I feel bad about it because like
They haven't put out a record in a while.
There's been a couple.
there's been a couple.
Literally, I've dipped out.
That's what I'm saying. So I think it was like their first or 1 or 2 records. I was like, oh my god, the copyrights.
I feel like that North Sentinel Island album of theirs
Yes.
is something like,
Did we review North Sentinel Island?
I don't know.
In the-
We might have, but it was sort of like a weird special like bright spot in a genre that is very like, what's the word?
Oversaturated.
Yeah, where a lot of bands sound the same and do the same sort of stuff, and I think that album did all of the same things in a imperceptibly different way.
Sure.
Yeah.
That made it special.
It has something to do with their vocals, and they're actually not, probably not even, I mean, definitely their vocals, because they do harmonies very, very well. They're not just like normal, like 3rd or 5th harmonies, they're like, they do special things. But I think their guitar parts, we're reviewing the record.
I know. Stop. We're reviewing the record.
We're reviewing the record.
Yeah, we'll get into it later. What else?
But I would love to do Every Time I Die too, because one, like I said, we haven't done like a hardcore record, even though we all listen to hardcore. And
So, listener, if you haven't judged by now, this is going to be a pretty loosey goosey episode.
oh yeah,
Will anyone even be listening
Perspec-
at this point?
Your perspective should be that you're sitting in the booth with us, catching some breakfast.
Not
Maybe
French toast.
maybe you ordered Belgian waffles as a mixture.
It's the king of kings.
We went all the way to the
Easy now. My question to you guys.
It's outside of the budget.
Specifically around like getting together for the first time because of COVID. How has like Dane first? How has like COVID like been affecting your life? Like I don't really know that answer about you.
Yeah.
Like the past like let's call it 18 months or whatever. You know.
So okay. Well, I've been really lucky that I
And
haven't
feel
had.
free to take the next 20 minutes.
I probably won't.
Okay.
I probably will. Let's be honest.
He said, I probably won't.
I thought about it for
then
half a
added
second.
self-awareness, and then said,
Plus self-awareness. Yeah, no, honestly, if we're looking back 18 months, I've been really lucky that I haven't had any really close friends who have been, like, really ill from COVID. I've had friends who have
I
been
mean, I got sick from it.
kind of sick from COVID, but no one's been hospitalized. I haven't lost any
Chris, you're not
family or
eating in
friends.
frame. You gotta eat.
I think the point is to not eat in frame.
Oh, I've been horrid camera angles. Like,
I can't win.
I think the biggest impacts on me have probably been my job, which, you know, because I'm a teacher, school shut down very dramatically, and then we had.
were you guys off for that year? 'Cause, like,
So the end, like from March, April, like half of March, April, May. Like we basically shut school down for like a week before spring break, and everyone assumed we'd be back after
End
spring
of
break.
spring break, yeah.
So, and then we didn't, and we were asked to like teach in a way that like we could just post everything to this platform called Schoology where kids could learn online. Like so we'd have daily assignments posted,
Did
things
you
they
guys
could do
have
at home.
Schoology prior
Yeah.
to shutting
And the thing that my school is really good at is we had been planning for a year or two, like how do we teach from home if there's a bunch of snow days in a row?
Oh, interesting.
So we had already kind of had a system in place. But the problem was that no teacher had ever taught completely from home before, so we were all feeling anxiety about like, well, what happens during that one snow day when we have to do this remote learning thing?
that one snow day.
Right,
yeah.
and then of course that one snow day became a little, well, half a school year for sure, you know.
Crazy.
And during that time, like kids started checking out, and we still had to teach them. So like, how do you teach a kid who's not in front of you and not communicating with
Right,
you?
yeah.
I talked on the phone with kids. I tried to avoid Zoom because I hated Zoom at the end of 2020 school year. Last school year, everything, like the whole half of the year was in Zoom. And so I literally showed up to school every day to an empty classroom where
I
like,
remember when you started doing that too. Yeah.
where I just was talking on Zoom. So like we had to learn how to be a teacher who didn't teach lessons and just posted lessons. Then we had to become a teacher who had,
Almost like a college professor kind of thing.
yeah, depending on the college,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then we became the kind of teacher who like had to teach through this tiny little window where kids didn't have access to worksheets and might have just been sitting there on their phone the entire time, like, I don't know, playing or something. Like we had nothing we could do about anything. And then and then halfway through last semester, I had to teach the same class 2 days in a row to half of my students. So like, that became a whole. It was like more normal teaching, but then the planning, like how do I
Right.
take a month-long unit, chop it in half so I can teach it 2 times a day?
Yeah.
So my job
Right.
was just impacted a lot. I think probably though one of the weirdest things, and you guys could probably attest to some of this, is like I've been wrestling. Emily and I have been wrestling together with how do we keep our kids safe? What is a safe thing to do? What's
Absolutely.
not a safe thing to do?
Yeah.
Like.
Are you feeling any like fatigue on that? Mm-hmm. Like where you're like, can we be done now? You know what I mean?
I felt like really, like at the beginning, I was like really antsy. You know, like to the point where like I didn't want them to leave our yard a little bit.
I hear you.
We'd go and play at playgrounds, but we'd meet up with friends just to like hang out in a parking lot so the kids could run around.
Yeah.
We would not let them on the playground, which is obviously, we only knew we didn't know what we didn't know
we
at
all
the
know
time.
the same exact thing.
Right.
There was no playgrounds, no friends.
But that's what we thought was safe, and then we started loosening up. And I was really uncomfortable with. Like Emily was like, "We have a birthday party. There's only 5 kids in the backyard, but they'll all be wearing masks." And I'll be like,
No.
and even that's fine, right? But still, like that was before we were all vaccinated.
Yeah.
And then it started becoming like it's just gonna be 5 kids in the basement, but they're all people we know, and I'm like, we don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Like they could have gone out and but all of this stuff is still impacting us, So like our kids are being safe, as safe as we think. No one's gotten sick yet in our family, thankfully, or that we know of, But
Like, can you imagine a year ago getting together and doing this?
We wouldn't have. I mean,
We
obviously,
didn't do it.
We didn't do it. Yeah.
no, yeah, literally, I was not going to restaurants a year ago.
No.
Yeah.
This is my second time eating indoors, I think. Maybe.
We've gone to some restaurants as a family, but it's probably fewer than 10 times, and this is my first time not eating with my family indoors. So that's the thing.
Well, then we're happy to have it.
Well, of course, I consider you guys I consider
There it
myself
is.
the third twin.
There it
so
is.
Let's touch it.
yeah,
We can.
Yeah, we can. No one can see it though, but
That's true.
We
It
touched it.
happened over the phones.
So I'll say I think the biggest impact on me has been my job, but it's just been like the hand wringing. And honestly, like my now that the vaccine's been a thumbs up officially for kids and stuff.
I was going to ask you. Well,
Yeah.
You don't have to talk about it. If you don't.
Well, I'm willing to share a little bit because I'm all in. But I think Emily is understandably in that population of parents who's like, hold on, these are our kids we're talking about. Let's kind of wait and see. And that's a huge majority of, well, not a majority, about a third of parents.
That's
right
my,
now.
my
I was
nursing
gonna
wife
say,
is
I
the same.
read-
Yeah, she's like, what I said is, let's just not be the first wave. You know what I mean? Like, there's no rush. We'll be all right. Let's just.
I heard an interesting thing. There was like, at this point, that there have been distributed like 6 billion shots. Like 6 billion shots. And so there could be an argument that this is something that's understood better than literally anything that's ever been given to the earth in any time. Like we talk, they're talking about like, oh, studies are being conducted, blah blah blah. But it's not at the point that 6 billion doses have been given. It's not like it's turned into iRobot or whatever.
We're not really guessing anymore yet.
Not yet.
And then the idea that there's a demarcation between 11 years old and 35 years old,
Right.
and how your body reacts to that is a bit of a, like a straw man, because it's like the argument that that somehow that age somehow sets you up to your body to react dramatically different in the face of 6 billion doses.
I will say that that's where I am at. And though we've had some intense conversations.
Screaming matches.
No, definitely not. And I wouldn't even honestly.
I can't even imagine you two yelling at each other.
I wouldn't even call it an argument, although they were like heated discussions, continuously interrupted by children.
Those are the worst.
Yeah.
Ugh.
And I understand Emily's perspective because I think she shares it with way more people than I thought.
Yeah.
But I guess I kind of feel a little bit like it'll be safer if our kids get vaccinated. The sooner we can have them safe and everyone around us like fully vaccinated, the better. My kids want
Blow
it.
it off your
Yeah, I mean it's like we don't have to be, we don't have to have the same level of care anymore.
Yeah.
Like honestly, and I've said this on the podcast I think before. I think the only reason vaccinated people are being asked to wear masks is because they don't want non-vaccinated people not
Right.
wearing masks anymore. I read
It's
this.
a social pressure more than it is.
Yes, it's a sociological
For
thing.
sure.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a conspiracy theory,
No,
but
it is. It is.
I don't think. Yeah.
And I mean, it's the same concept behind like, like car seats for kids, for example, right? It's they have these generic rules for everybody, even though they don't apply to everybody. They apply to the worst of us, and therefore they apply to all of us.
That's how laws happen.
Right. That's what I'm saying. So
Yeah.
it's like
the lowest common denominator.
it's like, well, should my kid be forward facing or well? Well, some idiot's gonna not put a seatbelt on the child and have him forward facing at 3 months old. So they're all backwards facing for a while. You know what I mean?
I feel a little like the thing I'm most sick of is
Chris.
sometimes more you.
What? We were on the
Nailed
same
it.
team. We were Team Dane and Josh. Fuck this guy.
No, for real though,
happened.
I feel like the thing.
For real, though, it's
I'm exhausted by being a parent of kids who aren't vaccinated.
Yeah, I hear
I'm
that.
ready for that. Honestly, I'm way more exhausted just about like the capital C conversation, or quote unquote capital C conversation about vaccines and how whether or not they are safe and whether whether or not we are government sheep and kind of like the weird divisiveness that's been like sown because of it, the propaganda.
Yeah.
I'm a really like
You're being so quiet.
hell yeah. This is like the worst
listening.
conversation to
They're
be having in
listening.
Denny's, right?
You're not wrong.
But I
Hear that?
just
CIA.
Don,
I think every side would say that they're sick of it, but some people are still like there's still a kind of willing ignorance, and I don't know. I see it in my classrooms a lot. I see it. It's just that's the part. I'm gonna be done talking on that note because that's the part though that's most
Chris,
obnoxious.
well, here, Chris. What about you? How has COVID impacted like your? I guess I know more, but
Yeah.
to Dane,
I don't.
You know, like Dane doesn't. How has it impacted like your last year and a half in terms of like even just like getting together with friends and like
I
the
think
anxiety of like
I will say that, like,
being too conservative about things, or
I
you know?
honestly don't enjoy talking about it because of how much better my life has gotten during COVID. Like,
Don't let your employer
thank
know.
you so much. One, I was at a different job than when it all
Thank you very
started too, and a job that I hated nonetheless.
Right.
And was in a place I didn't want to be, and with people I didn't want to do it with.
Thank you.
And then I got to work from home and be away from all those people.
Yeah.
Are you still at home? You've been at home, right?
Yeah, now I work at home permanently.
Oh, wow.
It's over with. But I changed jobs, and like during that, you know, just my old company, despite the fact that I hated them, gave everybody bonuses for working through everything. They cut our salaries by 20%, which is fine. And then they gave everybody all of their payback plus a bonus for doing it. And then I got a new job and got
And you left, yeah.
And then I left.
So you got all the money and then you walked
So
away.
it's been financially very lucrative for
Well,
Chris
and
Marcanti.
then like we don't, obviously the commute's gone. I don't buy work clothes. I
Is
don't
working
eat
from
out.
home comfortable?
It's okay. I'm an argumentative type, and so when you're not able to do that like really well over Zoom, and so
The coffee's a lot hotter now. Holy shit.
Please.
I miss some of that conference room.
Down a little bit of
argument.
syrup.
Yeah,
But
I'm gonna cool this off with a tasty cake.
the biggest impact it's had is like Olive, and like the fact that she just turned 3 and 18 months of her life has been in this like weird period where she's like, we're not seeing anybody, we're not, her school is closed for.
Have you brought her to like a store?
Yes. We have now.
Yeah, I mean the past couple months, maybe has gone to like Target for the first time,
Yeah.
and has been like,
Olive had the exact same
What
reaction,
is
like,
this?
where
A
are
trip.
we? What is
and like
happening?
saw all the toys and was like, what? And then
just
saw the
stack
Halloween
these up here?
costumes and was like, what?
Yeah.
And I was like, we went to the Halloween store a couple times. We've been going to the Spirit Halloween a lot. That's
Hey, if you see oh yeah, go ahead.
no, I ain't buying any Halloween costume stuff from you,
Well, today's Halloween. so-
especially on Halloween.
Yeah. I
But
went
yeah.
to Target last night. And there was
Should we go to a Spirit Halloween after this? I think there's one down the street.
There absolutely is one.
I would consider it. I'm a big fan. Although it wouldn't be fun today. Everything's
No.
gonna be sold out.
Well,
there.
I went to Target last night and they had like half of an aisle left. Most of it was Christmas.
Yeah, all Christmas stuff
Yeah,
by now.
exactly.
I bought a new Spirit Halloween came with an updated proton pack.
Yeah. Wait,
Bought one.
how much?
$80.
Emmett has an inflatable one for his costume that just
I thought.
was not
feel-
meant
doesn't
for.
feel good?
No, it's fine, but it just has been deflating. It's just there's so many holes. Every time you
Yeah.
blow it up, there's a new
There's
thing
a
to
new hole.
patch. Yeah.
That's because of the ghost you catch. Anyway, it's been. I feel the worst for her because like for a while, all she saw was Josh, and
Ouch.
Henry and Eleanor, which is not bad. Don't get me wrong, but like as an only child at home, locked in with just mom and dad, like for months and months and months and months and months and months. It's like,
For some kids, that might be like literally the best thing ever, too.
yeah, not for Aqua.
Okay.
Yeah, she's
She's an independent spirit.
she's an independent spirit.
Okay.
She has been cursed with my level of
Respect for authority.
Anyway, this is like Mad Libs.
Adjective.
Anyway,
Noun.
so I'll say that like the biggest impact has been socially. Like I don't, aside from Josh, like we don't see anybody. We weren't doing anything. Certainly weren't going to shows. We weren't playing shows. We weren't practicing. And some of that stuff is like when you pull the vacuum out. Like there have been fantastic aspects of it, but when you pull the vacuum out of like all the social stuff, and like Amanda's not a very social person, but I am, and so like yeah, it's like a weird thing where you just stop seeing everybody and stop hanging out with people, and try to force these like Zoom interactions and things like that.
And that stuff that I hate. Like, I don't ever want to hop on Zoom for anyone.
Yeah.
Ever.
Yeah.
If I can help it.
It almost made it worse. But I remember doing Dave's birthday party, and like
Our friend Dave.
our friend Dave, his birthday party, on Zoom at like the very beginning of the thing. And I was like, this is weird.
It was awful.
And then it was like another year and a half worth of this.
Yeah, I skipped it because I didn't want to, like, it was nothing personal today, but like, I didn't want to sit on Zoom. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't want to stare at a camera and have awkward forced conversations.
Well, and there was like 15 people that were all trying to make the joke, you know what I mean? And you're like, it's just, you can only hear like,
It's awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Awkward.
Imagine doing like 20 parent-teacher conferences that way, 10 minutes at a time.
no thanks.
That's what I did the last couple days.
No thanks. Josh, how was,
I had my first parent-teacher conference, by the way.
Yeah, how'd that go?
It was great. I mean, it was great. I got a good review, but it was just weird.
you have to tell Dane what Henry said.
What did Henry say?
When I was on the phone, and he was like,
Maybe just tell it.
I go, Henry, is your teacher going to say that you talk too much in class? And he said, whatever's in her head, she can tell Dad or something. What did he say to you?
Wait, is this is kindergarten?
Kindergarten.
Yeah.
He literally said, like, I don't know, whatever's in her head, she could say out loud or something like that.
I don't know. Whatever she can do it. Whatever she wants.
It was so
I'll let her tell you. Don't forget this low tier.
Yeah, that's why it's
I'd
all
say
on
like the
other
biggest, like work was not a big impact. Starting up this podcast again during COVID has been really amazing. But I would say like the biggest impact is like, and like kids are in school, so it's like, Henry missed out on a year. My wife had like a really hard, she's a nurse. She had a really hard year.
And you're underselling what she did as a nurse. Like she was.
What'd she do?
She was an anesthesia nurse. So in the beginning of the pandemic, they didn't know anything, right? So in surgery, it's all about sterile fields. So it's like a sterile field is like when they open up an instrument, a thing of instruments. This is now your sterile field. Nothing enters your sterile field. You have to be washed up, masked up. They've always been like that. But now a patient comes in the room who may not be breathing COVID. This is like pre-testing, right? Like they didn't really even.
Yeah, right. Testing was a hard thing to
So
get.
like, it was her and all of her peers were literally having breakdowns. I mean,
No, what I wanted you to explain was that as an anesthesia nurse, everybody that goes on a breathing tube or a ventilator or anything goes through her team. Like
so she's seen like almost everyone.
Every
So the
person
biggest
in
thing is-
hospital
the biggest
that
thing
was,
is
like,
intubation.
Not going to make it out was going through Allie and her team.
the biggest thing is, especially in the beginning when everyone was on a ventilator, there was intubations. So if when you intubate somebody, sometimes you're awake when that happens, and it's awful. Or sometimes you're coming out of anesthesia and that happens. But you're doing this, and like the reaction to that is to cough.
Yeah.
So
Oh, right on.
And sometimes in emergent situations, they didn't. It's like you get lax on things because it's patient safety first,
Yeah.
and nurse safety second. And this is a day-to-day thing. So
You
it
know,
was. In the
I've
beginning
thought a
it was-
lot about how my job has changed and how screwed up it is. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say like, oh, I've had it so bad. No, definitely not. But it's like stories like this that kind of remind you what the front line looks like.
Yeah, it was definitely frontline action.
You know, people were like, respect the frontline workers, like police lives matter and stuff, and like, of course they do, right?
So-
Whatever, but not getting coughed on by
Well,
people
so
while
like,
you're being in.
imagining it being, this is the way that I always thought about it too for Allie, is like in the beginning you have no, I mean day one they like locked everything down. You have no idea it's like 28 days later.
It's literally
You don't
like
know if the person
the
coughing
first
on
wave
you
of people
is
were
giving you
yeah.
zombie fucking whatever.
The first waves of people were coming to the hospital and being like, "Hi, intubate me." And
Yeah.
she's like, "What do you have?" You know, it's crazy like that. And so she would come home and like be very upset every day, and we'd have to like, kids don't touch her. She has to go take a shower right
Yeah,
away.
we had a friend who's a nurse at at Good Shepherd in Barrington.
Yeah.
And same exact thing.
Yeah.
She left us. She had a certain pair of clothes that she'd like
Right.
put on in the car.
Right.
and-
We had work clothes and I mean, it was intense for especially the beginning. And then like a lot of the frontline nursing workers are like you can do any research on the medical field right now and how if you think Denny's is understaffed, go to the hospital.
I've heard about this.
It's legit scary. Like, I'm going to recommend this to all the listeners: don't go to the hospital
If you can avoid it.
If you can avoid it, please don't go. So, yeah, they all left in droves, and they're not paid enough, and they're dealing with too much bullshit. But back to me.
In terms of, I'm saying in
Yeah,
terms,
no, in terms of, like,
households,
yeah.
like
Right,
your
right.
household was like easily the most impacted, the scariest
Right.
of like.
Yeah,
you
she
know,
took a job, ended up taking a job that she doesn't like, so that she wouldn't have to deal with the stress of.
What's she doing now?
It's pre-surgical tech. Pre-surgical tech. It's kind of like before you go into surgery, somebody contacts you ahead of time and make sure you're the right person, and you're getting the right stuff. That's her. That's what she does. So she's not in one-to-one contact with patients anymore.
Does that work from home?
No, it's going.
It's still there.
Yeah. Could be working from home. But she's thinking about going back to, maybe going back to anesthesia because things have gotten better. So.
Yeah, she's
But anyway,
definitely
household-wise.
a machine. That's for sure.
Household-wise, that was probably the biggest impact. Then music, was a weird like Chris said, playing music and playing out, doing that as transitioning to being like an internet band and like looking at the future of music. Like there was a big show that happened last night that was promoted to high heaven. I won't say who it was. A local show for us.
Oh, I know what band it is.
Yeah.
I know what show.
Yeah, and I saw a picture of it. There was nobody there. And I'm like, local music is dead.
Yeah, but I think there's
You know what's funny? You say that. I then saw Adam posted pictures from a show he took at Reggie's. I think Friday night. I don't know, it was some metal band or whatever.
Yeah.
Ask to Elbows.
Local?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if they were a local band, but
Those metalheads don't give a shit.
I think that.
Someplace out of your way, or
You can take this
Yeah.
one, sure. Thanks, man. And I'll have another round of coffee too.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You work on it?
no, I'm all set. Thank you.
I think that
Beautiful. Thank you.
I think that there's got to be a point where like I think we were past that point where people were like itching to get out, and then went out no matter what. And now there's a bit of a like, well, got out. And people are kind of, but there's going to be a point at which like everything really backs off again, and people are going to want to be going
I
out
think
again.
It's a regression to the mean. Like you go all the way up, then you go all the way down. And
Like, and that's why I was asking about fatigue. Like, I don't know about you, how you're feeling, but like, I'm fatigued as shit. Like, we're going to see a comedian. We're going to see Mike Birbiglia this week, and like,
we're gonna see Dane.
we're going to go see Dane.
Me?
Yeah, you're a comedian.
Yeah, right. Thanks, guys.
Have you ever seen? Do you know if you've seen Mike Birbiglia?
I'm not a big comedian guy, guys.
You have. What's the last one with the kids? The kids.
You know,
last
all
show.
the kids.
The last show.
What's that
The
one?
last show with the
The-
kids.
the last-
with Birbiglia.
Birbiglia show he did with about his
Oh,
dog.
Thank God for Jokes. Was that?
Thank God for jokes.
It's on
You have to
Netflix.
watch it.
It's on Netflix.
You
Highly
have to watch it.
recommend it.
every time I watch something Michael Birbiglia, I'm like, this guy is 100% Dane.
He's the same neurosis level as
100%.
Wait, what's my neurosis level?
High.
That one. That one right there.
I didn't know that.
Through the roof.
Okay.
Add self-awareness and then come back.
And he's a writer, you know, like his jokes are, it's not like jokey jokes, like he does a lot
He
of
writes
writing.
a show.
You'd like it.
Okay.
You love it.
Emily's really into comedy. Like, all she wants is a husband, and that'll make her laugh.
Oh, no.
She picked the wrong one, huh?
Well, like, I can be funny sometimes,
You
but
make me
like,
giggle.
I'm just not like she. We
You're on a
watched.
hyper-caffeinated
You
show.
guys ever watch Magic for Humans? What's that guy's
Yeah.
name?
I know his name.
Justin
something. Yeah.
We
Justin.
she loves him, and she loves. But then, like, literally, when I sat down in the booth, I checked like my Facebook notifications, and she had tagged me on that like Steve Martin thing that Jim Hankey went to,
Yeah.
and said like, "This I've never wanted anything more in my life." Like,
Yes.
she just wants comedy. So maybe I need to like bring this into our household.
Can I?
It'll make her laugh.
If
I
you take
can.
if you take one non-musical recommendation away from today, Mike Birbiglia, Netflix. Thank God for jokes.
Okay,
Fantastic.
I'll look into it.
Oh, it's so good.
In the time that we have left, since this has just been a bunch of goofs and a bunch of nothingness,
Yep.
how do you guys think the podcast is going so far? Because we haven't had this kind of like retrospective. Let's bring the listeners in. How do you guys think it's going?
On-air meeting.
Dane. Oh, Chris. Fuck you, Dane. We were on the same team, dude.
I deserve that.
We're on the same
deserve that.
team.
Do you know how expendable
funny?
you are?
Write you off like that. What's funny about the podcast is that it's exactly the reason we started it 10 years ago or whatever, which is just like, well, we're talking about this stuff anyway.
Yeah.
Let's put a schedule to it and record it. And so it's been more than like fulfilling in that way, because it's just like, I truly enjoy it. It's like, it's 4:45, my alarm goes off.
Yeah.
I get up, I go downstairs, I'm not in a great
Right. Not in a great place.
I get a cup of coffee, I sit in front of my computer, and then we just giggle for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, and then like the family gets up and everything else gets up, and it's just like, oh, I've been giggling downstairs, you know, for 2 hours before everybody gets up.
It's a funny feeling to be like, I don't wake up early for anything ever,
Yeah.
but except for the podcast.
Yeah.
And so like Allie was going, how's the podcast? Great.
Giggling.
Just giggled for 2 hours.
Just giggling. So, I don't know, you know, from like a listener, downloader, I don't know. What we talk about at work all the time is like, you can never predict the output, but if you get the inputs correct, the output will just come. And like the input here is just hanging out, talking about stuff and recording it.
Yeah.
And whatever the output is whatever the output is. Like,
Yeah. How about in terms of like music discovery? Like,
I mean,
right?
again, I would have never found like Free Throw or even Sincere Engineer or like, you know, a lot of the records that we've talked about so far this year have been like in the rotation heavily, you know.
Yeah.
And some of them, like Parker, I was like looking at old episodes and I was like, oh yeah, I loved that.
Yes.
When we listened to it, I forgot. It's like fallen through.
Yeah.
And I think you talked about this a little bit in the last episode of like, there's just so much that's coming out. Sometimes it's hard to remember to go back to an album.
Right.
And so, yeah, from a music discovery perspective. From a story perspective, like, we've talked about interesting things, but the music industry is so, like, one-sided at this point, where everybody's going, the bottom fell out. How do we figure out how to fill the coffers again?
Yeah. I think it's an interesting time to be focused on the music industry, with the bottom having fallen out and you know,
Yeah.
stuff like that. But Dane, what about you? How's the podcast going for you?
I agree with this idea that like
I agree.
we started.
Hand them a sandwich.
I feel like we started this just for us, like what we did 10 years ago. Like we did just for us, and now I think we're doing it the same way. And
Yeah.
I don't love doing it on Zoom. But I know the necessity, and we even back in the day we were talking about doing it on
We
Skype
did,
and
yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
My
you know.
video just stopped.
To start it again.
yeah, what are we doing here?
You were the worst
It
person
just-
to have that.
My phone. Go
Is
ahead.
it out of batteries?
Clap. No, it just stops.
like if you clap by yourself, like that would have helped him
It's
sync
gonna
it
help
up.
Chris later.
The last episode, you clapped while Dane and I were still talking, and I was like, am I supposed to sing to what he just did? What?
Go ahead, Dave.
I don't know. I feel like having an excuse to have conversations, and to go along with what you're saying about the music, like all of the music that we listen to, chances are I would have stumbled across, and maybe I would have listened to it one
I
time.
think you're better at music discovery
Way
than.
But like, I guess I kind of feel like it would have been on my radar. I might have listened to it, but maybe there's a chance I wouldn't have. If I did listen to it, I might have listened to it once and been like, this kind of forces me to like really listen and find reasons to enjoy it instead of just writing it off.
Yeah. That's a great point too.
See, and in my brain, you listen to everything critically. So
Not
it's
everything,
good to
though.
hear. It's good to hear that like some of it is just in passing and like
Well, for sure. Yeah, no, sometimes like I'll listen to an album
like
and
how
I'll
does
be
Dean
like,
listen to so much and listen to it so critically?
I think about it.
It's a
all the
lie.
time. I do think
It's all a lie.
I listen to almost nothing in my car anymore either.
Where are you listening to music?
I listen to it a lot in my classroom.
Okay.
Like, I'll just put it on between passing periods or during free periods and just, like, I'll sync through an album or, like, once a week or a couple albums a week or something. And but I will say that, like, I feel like
I wonder if
this-
that mumbling gets picked up on the microphone.
of course it does.
Yeah.
That twin mumbling. Go ahead.
I do feel like this the same with stories though. Is like all these things would be on my radar, but I wouldn't really be thinking about them or thinking about how I feel about them. Even though like it impacts me on this like this dorky little label that I have. Like some of that stuff impacts me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say it has to, right? Like even
Some of it does. Some of it just like I think being a person who runs a tiny record label, it feels like I'm probably like it's like kind of a big deal, but it's not. It's like a small project that doesn't get nearly as much out. Not as much happens as I would like it to.
right.
And so it's a lot of work for. I mean, it's not a lot of work, but the
Are you
payoff
still
is.
talking about the podcast?
No, the record label.
kidding.
Yeah.
Oh, right.
I'm kidding.
Well, it's the same sort of thing. Like these are all passion projects
Sure.
we have, right? And it's a bit of work at times. There's not a ton of payoff, but we do it because it's the thing we feel like we got to do.
Yeah.
And stories that we write or talk about is another way to kind of feel connected to it.
Can I tell you, I'm really stuck on that. You said it very flippantly, but I'm really stuck on the sentence of like the thing we feel like we have to do. I'm recently, and we talked about this very briefly, but like I'm just so stuck on this thing. I was joking with him about how funny it is that, like, if I compare my wife's friends to my friends, all of my friends, every one of them has some sort of creative project that they do. Some like writing, the label, the podcast, the band.
Hold on, I have to blow my nose.
There we go.
Right in here.
Come on.
I have to warn my students when I do that now, because some of them like literally like jump up and like freak out.
You have the oldest
Can I tell you something?
man schnoz.
Remember back in the day, I used to edit sounds as my ringtones. You remember that?
Send it to me.
Yeah.
But the one was
Oh.
I remember there's one of mine
was
that you
one-
told me
yes.
about. Yeah, that was one of them.
Something like.
Anyway, I just found a new one. Anyway,
Oh my god.
yeah.
So you're saying your friends there's a lot of creativity going.
Everyone, yeah, and we, it's something I wanted to talk about today about like
Does it?
what it's like to have to continue your creativity during the pandemic and stuff like that. But
Does this feel like fulfilling to you guys, or does it feel like on the spectrum, fulfilling or obligation?
Oh, it doesn't feel like an obligation.
Good.
But no, we got to define fulfilling. Like fulfilling in a social way, definitely. Fulfilling in a like launching a project and getting it out there way. I mean,
That's not-
that's
yeah.
for you to tell us with the.
No, I think it can't be the latter. I mean, we're getting like our downloads are growing. I'd like to see. I would love to see that continue. If you look at episode 1 to episode 17, you'll see a growth. It's not going to be huge because you have to be into what we're talking about. You have to be into us. There's a lot of like asks. It's a time ask, in 2021, which is huge. But yeah, it's for me, it's like fulfilling in that like music discovery way, in that like social way. This baby crying. This is what happens. in a
Here's the
podcast.
thing: 10 years ago, we all would have
Oh, I know.
looked at that and been like,
Yeah.
We might
now
have
10 years later, we're all like, you okay?
to- yeah.
Because that's exactly like all of our spider senses are going off right now.
You could probably sync up that moment we all just looked over. We might have to wrap this up, so it's kind of a good point to do that anyway. We're at the almost hour mark, so let's go ahead and do that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is our return to a live episode here at Denny's in Palatine. For me, Chris, Mr. Dane. Chris, where can people find what you're at? What you're up to?
thethrowbackchicago.com. Stay up to date. All things throwback.
Nice. Dane.
Jetsam-flotsam.bandcamp.com. Yep.
Yep. And then for me, it's Rock and Roll Brunch podcast. Chris, you're looking at me like I'm an asshole. For me, it's Rock and Roll Brunch podcast. Tell your friends. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on YouTube. You can shoot us an email, rockandrollbrunch@gmail.com. Dane, why don't you give us why don't you send us off here?
I don't want to say it here. They'll actually want to give us the check.
Well,
I want to hang out for a little longer.
You better ask for it.
Check, please.